It's an early morning here in Selçuk. Thank you. It's a little before 8. We are on our way to Ephesus. Hopefully we can stop at a bakery somewhere, get a little breakfast, maybe a coffee before we go over to the Doma stands and get a ride out to Ephesus.
Success. We found a little bakery that was open. Here's what we figured out. Dolmuses that are leaving line up right here next to these signs. So how is your breakfast, and what is your breakfast?
Well, that's a good question. We stopped at this bakery that was open, and it's pastry that is very yummy. I wasn't sure what was going to be inside of it, and I found it to be peanut butter. I was kind of surprised. It's actually delicious. I'm not a big peanut butter person, but this is good on a cold morning.
Nice. And I just went old school with the Simmet. It's pretty good, as usual. And there's the cat following me.
So we just learned something useful. The dolmas that go out to Ephesus don't start running till 8:30. So you have plenty of time to get yourself a little breakfast and a coffee before you're out here standing and waiting.
And we know that Ephesus opens at 8:30, but I think it actually may open a little bit earlier during the summer season.
Which this is not.
This is not. We are here in March, and so if you are planning to take the Dolmus over, it appears that they start running at 8:30, at least during the winter season. All right, the Dolmus has arrived. We are now boarding and getting ready to depart shortly.
Yep. Here we are.
Pro tip, everybody in Selçuk, and I guess in Turkey refers to Ephesus as Ephes. So keep that in mind. We heard it's best to get here early because you can pretty much have the place to yourself, and it looks like that's the case for us.
That is the case. We've been to some, ruins before, but this is imposing.
So in its time, Ephesus was the second largest city in the world. Quite amazing. What do you think?
This is amazing. Absolutely stunning, amazing.
It's just the scale.
That's it. It's like you come up these stairs that are kind of narrow, and then you come up and it's just this huge amphitheater.
We are literally the only ones here. And we also have a dog that's been following us around. So here's what it was like to be on stage performing. We're walking down this main road, and in the back you can see the Terraces Houses, which we have tickets to see. And up into the upper right is the Library of Celsus, which we will very shortly be right in front of. So this whole area was a meeting place and the main market. You can just see where what appear to be all these stalls are up against the walls here. So here's a better representation of what these stores might have looked like. So we've just entered the Terrace Houses, which are an additional cost, but from what we've heard, highly recommended. So we'll take a little tour through this area. So here are the remains of a basilica that was built in 160 AD. And look at this floor, you can see a pipe running underneath. And again, it looks like we have the entire place to ourselves. Our little friend is now following us. We've nicknamed him or her Zeus. We have not been able to shake Zeus. What we're finding really interesting is that we can just walk through most of the ruins. There are places that are off limits, but you can really get up and close. It's not something we've experienced recently. They're just so open with everything here. All right, we've come to one of my favorite parts of the tour, the latrine.
You're such a boy.
It looks like the Domus dropped us off at the bottom of Ephesus, which is where I thought it would drop us off, but not knowing exactly where the top and the bottom was, I got confused. So we did get dropped off where we thought we would get dropped off, which was a great place. We started with the big stuff first, and now we've made our way up to the top, which is where the main entrance is, where they drop everyone off, and now all the tourists are showing up. So it's a good time for us to kind of pack it up and head out. So that was very convenient.
Yeah, the Domus are great.
It's definitely at the lower gate where we dropped off, and there's actually a little
Shelter, like a little bus shelter at the top of the hill. So you walk up through the car park where the road kind of curves, and the bus shelter's right there, and there was a gentleman there asking where we were going, and he said it'll be here in 5 minutes. Made a radio call. It was great.
Yep, 13 lira, so very inexpensive and very easy way to travel.
So we made it back from Ephesus, and now we're having lunch at a PJ place that's really highly rated. We'll see how it is.
We got 2 pides, one with meat and one with meat and eggs, and I'm going to try both of them. First, I'm going to try just the meat. Very good. Onions and spices really well balanced. I love meat, so the meat's good. Bread was really crisp. They cooked it in a stone oven. Now let's try the meat and the egg. Really good. I'm not getting a lot of egg, but it's all really well balanced. Dough is really crispy, delicious. All right, what do you think about lunch?
I really enjoyed it. The dough is just really, really good, like fluffy and crispy and chewy and yummy, and the filling was good. The meat and the egg, I really added just that little extra something to it. So thoroughly enjoyed it. Would totally recommend this place. So we just had a delicious lunch, made our way over to the train station, and now we're back on our way to Izmir. So we've just come back from Ephesus, and I want to know what you thought about it, Chris.
It was just such an amazing experience. We left out so much in the video, and I think we were both a bit overwhelmed. I know I was kind of overwhelmed, and it was almost difficult to know what to say on video, just because of the scale of the place. I learned that you can estimate the size of a Roman city by the number of people that could be seated in the Roman theater, and the number of people that could be accommodated in the theater in Ephesus was 25,000. So that means that if you multiply that times 10, that Ephesus held about 250,000 citizens. So it was quite a large city. I didn't realize at the time that it was such a prominent city in Roman history. There was just a lot going on there with trade, commerce, really an amazing place to visit. What did you think?
I loved it. Totally in my happy place there. Definitely go early when you're there. And if you're lucky enough, you can see the sunrise over the hill and shine on the library front, which is what we were able to see, which is really so magical. And then the terrace houses were just fantastic because you got to actually go in people's houses and people lived there. And that was really amazing to see because you can see a column, you can see, ancient Greek writing, but to see where, someone lived and this was their bathhouse, that was really kind of special for me.
And the other thing I'll mention, and I briefly mentioned this in the video, but you can pretty much walk on and touch everything. I don't know if that's great from an archaeological standpoint, but you're walking in the theater, you're touching the marble. You can stand in the theater and look out, kind of gaze upon the audience and think about what it would have been like to have spoken to a crowd of 25,000 people. If you are planning a trip to Ephesus, you can pay to go on a tour, and I'm sure it's great, and you'll be in
a large group following a flag.
Or you can opt to do what we did, which was to take public transportation down to Selçuk and then take a Dolmus bus into Ephesus early in the morning. And it's very, very inexpensive. I mean, we're talking just a few dollars to take a train ride down, to take a bus over. You're dropped right in the front of Ephesus. You can walk right in. And if you get there early, as Stephanie was mentioning, you're going to have an experience that you would not otherwise have, especially if you go with a tour group.
So, in conclusion, go to Ephesus.
And like and subscribe. Start over.
Yes, we can start over.